take this opportunity to say thank you for the invite and to welcome the elected officials here on behalf of Special Agent in Charge, Mark Johnson. I want to talk to you today about a subject that unfortunately is being talked about around the world. Even more unfortunately, it's being talked about a lot here in Houston. Human trafficking is not a house filled with illegal aliens or a van filled with men, women, and children along 59. These are people who willingly enter into a contract to be smuggled into the United States. Human trafficking is the man working in the kitchen, washing dishes at our favorite restaurant, but is not being paid and being threatened with harm and deportation. Can everybody hear me now? Okay, I'm sorry. It is the man working in the kitchen who's being threatened with harm and deportation if he alerts authorities. Human trafficking is the women who are housed in the affluent neighborhoods of the Woodlands or Kingwood and are forced into prostitution. Human trafficking is the nanny who works for a family in Katy, who works with no days off, no pay, and is beaten as well as threatened with deportation. Human trafficking is the teenage girl who walks the streets along 59, selling herself only to give the money to her pimp. Human trafficking victims are hidden in plain sight. The trauma experienced by human trafficking victims is like no other. It requires services unlike any victim population that I have ever seen. Repairing the victim begins at the time they are rescued by law enforcement. The Homeland Security Houston Division has had the privilege of working with Family Time since 2008. It is at that time that the Southern District of Texas prosecuted its first human trafficking case. Family Time has been instrumental in helping us to meet the needs of victims in crisis, helping us to prepare victims to be expert witnesses for the prosecution by ensuring that their healing process begins immediately upon rescue. Family Time provides services immediately. For many of these victims, the first time anyone has cared for them has been when they arrived at Family Time. Upon arrival at Family Time, victims are given a warm bed, clothes, love, and care. I want to tell you about a case that happened a few years ago. There were two ladies who were held against their will and sexually assaulted repeatedly. They were forced to cook and clean in a stash house for over 50 people for a period of 3 months. The two ladies were rescued and placed with Family Time. As we got closer to the trial, the two women became afraid. Because of fear, they fled the shelter. Despite several attempts from myself as well as other law enforcement officials, we were unable to get the women to return to Houston. The prosecution scrambled so that their case wouldn't fall apart. About 3 to 4 months later, we had given up. The prosecutors had mapped out a plan to try to do their best in getting these individuals convicted. I walk into my office, it's probably a Tuesday morning, I think it was, and I get a call from one of the staff at Family Time. And she tells me, I have been able to get one of the women to return. As long as you guys promise that you will not arrest her or deport her. She said, I explained to the woman that that is not the way Homeland Security operates. The woman agreed to return. Upon her return, she was an excellent witness for the prosecution. Excellent. And that was all because of the work that Family Time had done with her. Because of this woman's testimony, there were several individuals who were sentenced. The sentences ranged from 3 to 31 years in federal prison. This could not have been possible not have been possible if it were not for family time. They are so important to us. When we have operations that require food, clothing, shelter for the women being rescued from brothels or other locations throughout the Houston metropolitan area, family time is there. We could not do our job without them. Victims, years after leaving family time, years after prosecution is concluded, will call family time and tell them that they are either now on their way to becoming U.S. citizens, providing care for healthy children, and are no longer victims. They see themselves as survivors. So on behalf of Homeland Security Investigations, Houston Division, I would like to thank all of you for your support of family time and their support of us.